2. The Pride Lands had always thrived under the careful balance of strength, courage, and leadership. But power without wisdom is a fragile thing. Kion felt it the moment he stepped onto Pride Rock that morning, the weight of responsibility pressing against his shoulders heavier than ever. The roar of the elders, the very symbol of authority and protection, resonated in his chest, reminding him that power is not just about might, it is about the lives it safeguards and the decisions it demands. The wind carried whispers of unrest across the plains, subtle but unmistakable. Predators were testing boundaries. Prey were hesitant, and even the rivers seemed uncertain in their flow. This was not a challenge that brute force could resolve, which was a lesson that would test the Lion Guard and the very meaning of leadership itself. The guard gathered at the edge of Pride Rock, tension visible in every posture. Fooley's gaze darted across the horizon, alert for signs of danger, but also mindful of the fragile peace that threatened to unravel. Besht's massive form radiated protective strength, yet even he seemed uncertain about how to confront threats that weren't straightforward. Ono circled above, scanning for the faintest tremors in the land, trying to discern where responsibility must be applied. Bunga, usually fearless and bold, paced nervously, sensing that this mission demanded more than courage, it required judgment. Kion addressed them with calm authority, knowing that the success of the day would depend not on individual talent, but on the guard acting as a cohesive unit. Their first test emerged along the northern plains, where a small pride of lions had begun asserting control over waterholes traditionally shared with other herds. Strength alone could have solved the problem through intimidation or dominance, but Kion sensed that doing so would create long-term resentment and imbalance in the circle of life. Instead, he called for observation and strategy. Fully raced ahead to gather intelligence, noting not only the number of lions, but their behavior and intentions. Besht prepared to intervene if any animals were threatened, while Ono's eyes tracked movements from above to ensure no sudden disruptions occurred. Bunga stayed close to Kion, ready to act, but also learning that the best response was sometimes patience. As Kion approached the rival pride, he understood the core of his lesson. Power without responsibility causes harm. A roar could assert dominance, but it would not teach the pride to coexist or respect the balance of the land. Kion took a deep breath, using his authority not to intimidate, but to communicate. He called a meeting with the leaders of the pride, explaining the importance of shared resources, respect for the circle of life, and the consequences of unchecked power. At first, the rival lions bristled, expecting the force of the Lion Guard, but Kion's calm authority and clear reasoning began to shift their perception. Meanwhile, the Lion Guard worked in concert to ensure the safety and fairness of the resolution. Fully guided wandering prey safely away from potential conflict zones, Besht remained a visible protector to prevent aggression. Ono monitored from above for signs of panic or fear, and Bunga encouraged hesitant cubs and young lions to witness the dialogue, teaching them that power should be guided by responsibility. The demonstration was subtle, yet profound. Leadership was not about dominating through might, but inspiring through example. 2. The day's challenges continued as word of the Lion Guard's presence spread. Other regions of the Pride Lands faced disputes over territory, water, and food. Some animals sought to exploit weaknesses, assuming that the Guard was only concerned with immediate threats. Others doubted their ability to act fairly and wisely. Kion divided the Guard into teams, assigning each member tasks that leveraged their unique skills while reinforcing the principle that power is meaningful only when used responsibly. Fully moved with speed and precision, delivering messages, resolving conflicts, and preventing escalation. Besht provided stability and reassurance, ensuring that smaller or weaker animals could act without fear. Ono's aerial perspective allowed him to anticipate potential disturbances and coordinate the Guard's efforts across vast distances. Bunga, once impulsive, applied courage in measured ways, guiding the young and teaching them the ethics of strength, Through coordinated action, the Pride Lands slowly regained balance. Disputes that once threatened chaos were resolved through dialogue and guidance, rather than force alone. The animals began to understand that the Lion Guard's power was a tool for stewardship, not domination. Kion observed the results with satisfaction, but also with humility. The lessons of responsibility were ongoing, and leadership required constant vigilance. The ultimate test came when a rogue coalition of predators sought to seize control of a vital water source. Believing that the Lion Guard would respond with strength alone. They underestimated the power of responsibility and wisdom. Kion called the Guard together, devising a plan that combined their abilities with careful strategy. Fuli's speed allowed her to move swiftly between locations. Best blocked dangerous paths without causing harm. Ono's insight provided guidance at every turn. Bunga inspired confidence in those who feared confrontation. Kion himself coordinated every action, ensuring the team worked not only to protect, but to teach, guide, and maintain balance. As the coalition attempted to assert control, they were met not with brute force, but with measured brute responses that neutralized threats while safeguarding every creature involved. The Lion Guard demonstrated that true power is not merely the ability to fight, it is the capacity to protect, guide, and make choices that honor life itself. The rogue predators, confronted by this combination of authority, coordination, and responsibility, finally withdrew, unable to challenge a force that wielded power with integrity. By the end of the day, the Pride Lands were safe, and the animals had witnessed a lesson they would carry for generations. Strength alone is fleeting, but when combined with wisdom, empathy, and responsibility, it becomes enduring. Kion gathered the Guard atop Pride Rock, each member bearing the marks of experience and growth. Power, he said, is not simply what we can do. It is what we choose to do and how we use it to protect others. Today we learned that leadership is a responsibility, not a privilege, and that our strength is meaningful only when it serves the circle of life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and crimson, the Pride Lands slept in peace. Strengthened not only by the courage of the Lion Guard, but by the wisdom that true power carries with it, a responsibility to protect, guide, and nurture all who call the land home. Kion realized that this was the essence of leadership, the ultimate truth of heroism. To be powerful is not enough. One must also be wise, compassionate, and ever mindful of the lives entrusted to their care. The dawn broke over the Pride Lands, casting long shadows across the plains, but there was no peace in the light. Kion could feel it trouble stirred beneath the surface, subtle and dangerous. Word had reached him that a powerful predator, stronger and more cunning than any they had faced, had begun to manipulate weaker animals, tempting them to seize control of vital resources. This was no ordinary battle of strength. It was a challenge that tested judgment, restraint, and the true meaning of responsibility. The Lion Guard understood that using power recklessly could escalate the conflict, causing suffering and chaos. Their greatest test had arrived. The Guard assembled at Pride Rock. Kion addressed them, his tone grave but resolute. This is a battle that cannot be won by strength alone. We must use our power wisely, not to dominate, but to protect. Every decision matters. One misstep could harm not only us, but the entire Pride Lands. Fuli's ears twitched as she listened, her speed ready to be applied with precision. Besht flexed, knowing he must combine his strength with patience. Ono circled above, scanning the horizon for the faintest hints of manipulation or unrest. Bunga's determination was tempered with thoughtfulness. Words alone would not be enough. Their first encounter came in the eastern plains. A small herd had been persuaded to leave their grazing grounds, believing lies that water sources were no longer safe. Fuli darted forward, moving swiftly to intercept them, guiding the frightened animals with calm direction. Besht positioned himself between the herd and any potential threat, not attacking but creating a visible, reassuring presence. Ono circled above, relaying information to Kion and anticipating dangers that the herd could not yet see. Bunga stayed close to the most frightened cubs, showing that courage could be gentle, inspiring the young to follow without panic. Kion observed every movement, making adjustments with quiet authority, ensuring that every action maintained safety and order. The predator behind this unrest struck next, targeting territory near a critical watering hole. Unlike before, this enemy was not merely aggressive, it was strategic, aiming to provoke conflict among the Pride Land's inhabitants. Kion realized that direct confrontation would escalate the situation, potentially causing irreversible damage. Instead, he called for a coordinated strategy, emphasizing communication, trust, and the careful application of their abilities. Fuli scouted multiple paths, predicting movement and preventing collisions. Besht blocked routes that could have led to conflict, using his power as a shield rather than a weapon. Ono directed animals away from danger while monitoring the enemy's maneuvers from above. Bunga inspired those frozen by fear to take small, meaningful actions, demonstrating that bravery was a choice, not just instinct. As the day unfolded, the Lion Guard faced repeated tests of restraint and judgment. Each time the predator attempted to exploit fear or incite chaos, the guard countered with measured action. Fuli's speed allowed her to respond instantly to any emerging threat, but she learned not to act without Kion's guidance. Besht's strength prevented harm, but only when applied with wisdom. Ono's vigilance ensured that no disturbance went unnoticed. Bunga's courage gave confidence to others, reinforcing that true heroism involves lifting others, not just oneself. Kion coordinated all these actions seamlessly, ensuring the Pride Land's safety without causing unnecessary harm. The ultimate confrontation came at the central watering hole, where the predator had gathered a coalition of restless animals. Ready to challenge the authority of the Lion Guard, Kion approached, not with a roar of dominance, but with a measured presence that radiated confidence and responsibility. He addressed the coalition, explaining the importance of cooperation, respect for shared resources, and the consequences of reckless actions. Some animals resisted, expecting the guard to use sheer strength to enforce order. Others hesitated, uncertain of whom to trust. At that moment, the Lion Guard demonstrated the full meaning of responsibility. Fuli's guidance allowed the animals to navigate safely around danger. Bestie's position provided protection without aggression. Show that strength is most effective when controlled. Ono's observations ensured that Gion's words reached every corner, helping animals understand the consequences of their actions. Bunga worked alongside the youngest and most fearful, showing that courage is taught through example, not intimidation. Every member acted not independently, but as part of a unified effort that combines strength, wisdom, and moral guidance. With coordinated leadership, the predator's plans unraveled. Attempts to manipulate and incite conflict failed as the animals, inspired by the Lion Guard's example, made the right choices on their own. Kion realized that true power is not about dominating others. It is about creating conditions where others can act responsibly and safely. The predator, frustrated by its inability to control or intimidate, recognizing that raw strength is powerless against thoughtful, responsible action. By the end of the day, the Pride Lands were secure, and more importantly, the animals had witnessed the principle that power carries responsibility. Strength alone had never been the measure of leadership. It was the combination of ability, judgment, and care for others that defined a true guardian. Kion gathered the Lion Guard atop Pride Rock, each member reflecting on the lessons learned. Our power, he said, is meaningful only when it protects, guides, and nurtures. Responsibility is not optional. It is the heart of true leadership. Today, we proved that the circle of life thrives when power is paired with wisdom. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the plains, the Pride Lands settled into a calm the likes of which they had not known for many moons. The animals had not only survived the challenge, they had learned what it meant to live under leaders who wield power responsibly. Kion and the Lion Guard stood together, their hearts and minds strengthened by the trials of the day. Knowing that challenges would continue to come, but also that their commitment to responsibility would always guide them. The story of the Lion Guard became a living lesson for the Pride Lands. Power without responsibility can destroy, but power guided by wisdom, care, and integrity builds lasting peace. Leadership is not measured by might alone, but by the courage to make the right choice, the patience to guide others, and the commitment to protect all life entrusted to your care. And in that understanding, the Lion Guard stood taller than ever. True heroes whose strength was matched only by their conscience.